Now we just idly sit back and wait for the beeps. Heard a
Yep.
beep. Heard a boop. You never know. Hey,
Yeah,
kids.
I'll check the stream.
Well, I heard it go boop. So that usually means that, something's happened or the tablet's...
Yeah, no, we're live.
Yeah. Stranger things. Hey, kids. What's going on? We're going to do something a little different tonight. Something we've been meaning to do. And by meaning to do, I've just idly been sitting back waiting for Jordan to finish Series 3 of Preacher. And he's still waiting on me to finish
Series 2.
Yeah.
Season 2 of Hannibal, so I can finally watch Season 3.
So we're getting around to it. We're going to do a Series 3 recap. Kind of, we're flexing some muscles because Doctor Who's coming up.
Yes, and I guess Game of Who is going to undergo a possible format change. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's going to try it out, Stranger things have happened because we do have it set up. Boom.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
Dominic Cooper, you're so handsome.
That is a solid 7, possibly 8 minutes of artistic expression.
See, what I was kind of doing is I was kind of hoping that we'd get the empty take on this too.
What?
Yeah, I don't know, like the God is Nicolas Cage or some shit.
Oh, all right, I got it. Yeah, put some red eyes on it and shit like that.
Yeah, so some googly eyes. Yeah, the empty flare.
That could be a thing. All right, so boom. Let's cut that down. We're gonna run through this. Basically, the way we have it set up is we have episodes 1 through 10 going in this week, and just to kind of prototype this and play around with it, we're going to start the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and so on. Just going into that with a screen grab, kind of running through what's on the screen, what's going on, and
basically what we remember.
I remembered a lot of it because I was getting those screen grabs, and then I caught myself rewatching some stuff. True story.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've only watched it I binged the entire season 3 2 weeks ago, so it's still pretty fresh in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
As I was dumping stuff into Google Doc, I'm like, oh right, yeah, and then that happened, and oh wait, yeah, that happened. So there's gonna be a lot of that.
100%. So let's get started with it. 3. Where are we starting?
Praise Jesus.
Hail Santa.
Yeah. Praise Jeebus. Humpadoop.
Blam. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to hopefully something we might be doing in the future. A couple of weird things. This is Preaching It. That's a stupid name that I came up with in 2 seconds because got to put a name on it. Everything has a stupid name on this network, and that's what we came up with. We're going to recap all of Series 3. So if you are listening to this, Preacher, it's a show. Well, what's it about?
That's an interesting question because there doesn't seem to be there's an overarching plot, but it's basically a crappy priest, his criminal girlfriend, and a vampire are trying to track down God so they can kick his ass.
It's a buddy movie.
Pretty much. It's like a twisted sort of cynical religious take on a road trip film, maybe.
It's definitely one of those things that's on AMC.
It's based off of the graphic novel by Garth Ennis, I believe.
Yeah, and
Steve Dillon. Yeah.
Reasonably, I remember when it first came out, it was like, you cannot adapt this to television. It's like, maybe you can.
It's possible. I mean, that's always the trick with comic book adaptations is you can be really, really faithful and you can still come out with a subpar product.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not one-to-one. It's the same thing with adapting books and whatnot. And I mean the show has sort of gone off in another direction. I think I've only read the first 2 volumes of Preacher period, so I'm not intimately familiar with what happens in there.
No, I mean I didn't know anything about it. I mean I knew the concept of it, what it was about. So we've been watching this since Series 1. I remember when that first came out. It's like, I got to try it. And it was 3 episodes in. And right in the first episode, it had that moment of okay, we're just going to be blowing people up like that very graphically. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a very strong opener to sort of... It very clearly sets the tone of what's about to happen for the rest of the series. yeah, it's I mean it's been out for 3 years, so I think it's past the statute of spoiler limitations. You
Oh
can
yeah, we're gonna
watch it.
spoil the shit out of that. I mean,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So like the opening scene, season one, is like some fucking preacher in Africa screaming about how gay people are going to be the downfall of civilization, and then then he gets like consumed by divine light, and then explodes. I'm like, yeah,
I'm okay with that.
yeah, like you okay, you have my attention. This
Right.
is
Then we get that. Then we meet the angels. Then it's like, okay. Then God's missing, and then Arseface shows that. You think it gets unhinged, but we go back and look at series one, that's kind of tame to where we're going to be going.
yeah, compared to season two, where they go through an extreme amount of effort to make Hitler a sympathetic character.
Mm-hmm.
And like I mean, and this is like the full Mel Brooks approach, because everyone involved in making this thing is a fucking Jewish person.
Right.
So like it's Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, and a bunch of other people. So yeah, they're all very publicly Jewish.
Your people.
Sure, let's go with that. I got mistaken for one of them often enough. That's a thing.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it was probably the bar mitzvah and all that, but
yeah. Sure, let's go with that. I accepted the money. Anyways,
that's right. And the video card.
Yes, and the video card.
That was
No,
like,
the video card was not.
it was like
really.
birthday or something like this, wasn't it?
Something.
Anyway,
something.
we got Hitler. They're in hell. They do all that shit. Escape. We run into who's the bad guy? The Satron.
The Saint of Killers, who
Yes.
is not so much a bad guy and more of an antagonist. Because I guess to rewind a little, the thing that made the preacher in Africa blow up is something called Genesis, which is the result of an angel and a demon fucking, and that thing becomes more powerful, and that manifests in anyone who hears a command from Genesis.
It's the word of
voice.
God.
Yeah, you have to do what it says.
Right.
And so it picks this preacher, Dominic Cooper over here, this handsome gentleman in the middle, who is also Tony Stark's dad in the movie Iron Man 2. Actually, there's a lot of ex-Marvel people in here, which is I find hilarious, because this is a DC property. It was originally published under Vertigo, which is a DC imprint. Yeah, but anyway, so the Genesis picks our preacher friend here, man in the middle, Jesse Custer, they call him, and he's coming to terms with this power because he's an ex-con. He's trying to turn his life around in season one. That fails miserably, of course, because there's a recurring theme in here that religion doesn't really solve anything and is more the root of problems. Yeah, so everything falls out from Genesis being fed into Jesse Custer. The Saint of Killers is tasked with killing him so that someone else can get their hands on the Genesis, and it's implied that it's Satan. We don't get a confirmation until season 3.
Right.
And so hilarity ensues. They're trying to find God. It turns out that God, for being entirely powerful, for being omnipotent, his escape is to just be a submissive. So he dresses up in a dog costume and then has sex with random people in New Orleans.
Well, in series 2, I mean, it's kind of alluded to. Like, it's the search, the quest for Spock. I mean, basically in series 2, that's what they're looking for. In series 3, we're like, all right, okay, so that is God. This is how this rolls. We're about to get into that. Stay with us. Be patient. And
that was actually a pretty good twist. I like that. Like
that was a thing. But by that point, with just the curveballs that this showed, the writing, brilliant writing. By the time they rolled that around, I was like, of course, you can do anything, show. You have my permission. And it's definitely a thing. So series 3, we start off and let's get into this. Hang on. Hang on.
All right.
No, go ahead. I want to hear what you want.
I was just going to say, season 2 ends on a cliffhanger. Tulip, who's the lady in the picture over there, is shot and killed. And it's a big deal. And Jesse says, I have a way to fix this. And that's where season
that
that's
was
where
a
season 2
conflict.
ends.
I mean, she gets shot and killed, and
that's where the last season ends.
Well, Cassidy wants to turn her.
Yes, he wants to turn her into a vampire.
And
Jesse says no, he has a better way.
Then they're driving off, and then he's like, I hate you. And he's like, just wait. And he's like, you're really going to hate me. Then basically series 3 opens up with a flashback.
Yes, we got this guy here who we learn is later named Jody. He's the guy who killed Jesse Custer's dad originally,
Mm-hmm.
and he is an enforcer or something. We don't really know what his exact deal is, and apparently he's also super strong.
Kind of.
And
But we'll definitely be rolling with that. But I mean,
Yeah.
this is just kind of like an establishing shot, and it's flashback with his mom, and like, oh, what's going on with that? And it sets a scene that grandma's a dick.
Oh, Grandma's like an evil sorceress who is like straight up Shao Kahn.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think at one point she literally says, "Your soul is mine."
Oh, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
So we're moving on. Jesse's there. Jesse and Cassidy, they show up, and he's like, all right, let's set Tulip down. She's in the background in this image.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go meet grandma. And they
So
go.
go on.
No, sweetheart, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, there's like the flashback alludes, and there's some flashbacks in the last season too. It alludes to like a very complicated relationship where Jesse is like some kind of pusher for his grandmother, who is like a professional witch or something.
Well, that's what they do. I mean, it's a very, if you get a problem with drinking or anything like that, you can pay and they'll get it sorted out. And it's made very clear that there's like competing camps. There's what she's doing and another one, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. So he goes to, so Jesse takes her to the grandma, says, "I need you to bring my girlfriend back to life." She says, "Well, you owe me. You ran away as a child, and you owe me souls because she eats souls. That's how she derives her power. That's how she stays
Well, the
alive."
thing that we're looking at right here, before we even get into that, is he's like, I need you to save Tulip. And he's like, I'll do anything. And she's like, you know what I want, which is not explained. So, Jesse whips out a knife, puts some blood on a rag, hands it to grandma, and you're like, okay, that's a blood compact, which is going to be later explained to us exactly what that entails.
Right, but we know that it's no good. It's some magical way of enforcing a contract.
Mm-hmm.
And so she does it, and I actually I really like the purgatory in this, where it's sort of like this stage play almost, and where we see Tulip like reliving some like traumatic childhood moment.
All right, that's moving on to where we're at now.
Yeah,
Tulip's not dead. She is in purgatory, and she's reliving his childhood with her father in a room with a younger version of herself. And she's like, fuck it, I'm going to help out and we're going to do this thing, right?
Right, except, it's purgatory, so she's kind of an innocent or she's kind of a bystander here. She can't really affect the outcome of anything. And it's funny, too, because she starts talking to the little girl of herself, or the little girl version of herself, and the little girl just turns to her and she's just like, I just work here.
I just work here.
Yeah, I love the whole sort of divine politics thing about how basically everyone's really just doing their job.
Well,
and
yeah, I want to stay on that because later, did you have the same thing when she's in purgatory and they're trying to summon her back? And you're like, why do we keep looking at the clock? Then it kind of telegraphs it to you like, oh, the battery. Ah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that moment.
Yeah, they do a lot of stuff with like foreshadowing here, which I find really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They do a really good job of that in like individual episodes and to the season at large, which is really cool. But yeah, eventually, the grandma does bring her back to life, which I think is the next thing.
This is true. Well, the next thing, they are going to go pay a visit because they need an ingredient to bring Tulip back to life.
Mm-hmm.
And the only person who has that is the competition in town for
what was it, Madame Booth? Madame Booth, I think it was, or something.
Possibly. We'll be getting to that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's his name?
Jody and Jesse.
Who was played by who? Jeremy Childs? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeremy Childs. They hop in the truck and they're like, okay, let's go do this. Which you could have said in the intro there was, what's up with this dude? Is he immortal? Is he a juggernaut or what? Because he's like, fuck this. He walks in to the motel by himself and you just hear chaos and death.
Like, no, I think at some point, like right at the beginning of the scene, like you see him chop someone and blood just sprays everywhere. And I'm like, okay, so like what? His punches have the power of bullets or something? It's implied that he's like magically juiced up, or he's just like crazy hillbilly strong.
It's never made clear, but
it's never been, because like he lifts a car at one point.
Yeah,
like single handedly.
We'll get to it. calm down. But they go through all that. They get the ingredients and make their escape. So after they get done doing that, they do have that little scrap because, you know, Jesse knows that this is the dude who oft pops. And
we also learned, too, that Jody is the one who taught Jesse how to fight.
Mm-hmm. And, okay, the relationship with Jody, even though Jody has, like, almost a surrogate father figure, like a dark-ass surrogate father figure. Because he was like, I want you to get good, boy, and...
Yeah, or I always thought it was more like an uncle or a big brother, maybe?
Possibly.
So some sort of, like, role model is probably a poor term for it. But
it came across as one, like, a legitimate goal he had for Jesse was for Jesse finally being able to kick his ass.
Yeah, I think maybe it's implied that, like, Jody was expecting Jesse to replace him at some point.
Possibly. So they get in this big throwdown, I mean, and it's pretty epic. Great fight choreography, you know, mirrors smashing trucks and all that. No one gets killed to death.
Yeah, and like I said, Jody, like, straight up lifts up that truck with, like, a single hand and is about to smash his head in. And we find out that the ritual was successful. That
Well, we're getting there because Tulip's like, okay, hang on. She's on the phone. She's like, something's going on. And they did bring a bunch of, like, of her favorite things, like blueberries and guns. And
Dragon Force.
Right, Dragon Force. Of course, that brings most people back from purgatory.
That makes me wish for death. So I don't know. Well,
fire and flames, bitch. Anyway, she sees the clock. She's about to put 2 and 13 together. That happens, and, you know, Grandma's like, boom, she's awake and all that. Grandma wheels off, and...
But before that happens, we get a little scene. Before she comes back to the land of the living, she has an encounter with our good pal God/dog, who gives her a message that we don't get the entirety of.
Oh, no. It kind of fades out into a literal ball of light, a genuine ball of light, and that does the thing. She wakes up, everybody celebrates, and so Jesse is walking back in this scene. He's like, I'm going to fucking kill you, you know? I'm getting out of here. I'm gone. Peace out. And Grandma's just cold, man. She's like, oh, no, you're not, sweetheart. You're mine now. You're back. And who's the grandmother in this one?
You wrote it down. She is Betty Buckley.
I like the character, man.
I do too. Now there's a thing we should probably have brought up before, is that at some point in the last season, Jesse lost the ability to reliably use Genesis in order to command people to do what he wants them to do.
That's because the Grail got part of the soul.
I guess we got to talk about that. The Grail organization, as led by, as far as we know, led by a dude named Hairstar, played by Pip Torrance, who is just a lovely, like, fascist. I actually really like his characterization.
Well, it's pretty good. Like, we're going to be getting into it because that's going to be covered in series. But yeah,
yeah, and so there's sort of two. This sort of brings up two. This moment here brings up two ongoing plots. Number one, he needs to get Genesis in order to free himself from Grandma's contract. Number two, he has to deal with the fallout of the deal that he made.
True. 100%. And we're going to learn a bit more about that. Let's see. What do we have?
We got a bit of a flashback, sort of fleshing out Jody and Jesse's relationship. There's definitely a lot of animosity there. Jesse, he's sort of presented as a conflicted figure because on his mother's side, the whole family is involved in, like, voodoo and witchcraft, and the father, or Jesse's father, was, like, a straight up preacher who wanted Jesse to be a good person. And so there's a conflict there where Jesse wants to do the right thing, but we're not sure if he's actually capable of doing it. Like,
yeah, that's just like the character conflict, though. I mean,
it is, but, like, it's sort of demonstrated by a lot of these flashback scenes where, like, there was the one, I'm not sure if it was this episode or the next one, where he's doing the pushing thing for his grandma's business.
Well, that was his job. I mean, 100%. He was out there to drum up business. So Tulip's back. She's awake, and Jesse's just like, okay, I got to explain what's going down to Tulip.
Like, sort of.
Well,
that gets stretched out throughout most of the season. And there's also a love triangle here because the guy in the background, Cassidy, the vampire, he's starting to develop feelings for Tulip, and they fucked once, but there's drama. It's the drama bomb.
All right. That breaks up. Cassie's downstairs. He's chilling out. Then we're introduced to TC, Colin Cunningham.
Major Davis from Stargate.
This brilliant actor, because the character he portrays, I was like, I've actually met that person. That is a frightening reinterpretation.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's kind of brilliant because like just off random talking. He's like, dude, do you want to get high? Basically,
he's like, do you want to pray? Do you want to help me around the past?
Hmm?
You like drugs?
Right. It's like, hello, what? It's brilliant.
Yeah,
that's a great scene, and 100% with that. All right, moving forward, Tulip meets TC, kind of, you know.
Jody,
Derps.
Yeah. She's just come back to life. She's trying to like get her bearings back, so she grabs a gun. She's about to shoot some cans, and fucking Jody shows up with the grenade launcher and just blows up her targets.
Which she's initially a little upset about, but then they get to with the gun chats, and it's like, all right.
Yeah, and I mean, all things are made better by handing the person you've wronged in like an M4 or an AR-15 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, and we sort of get right. She finds this lady here. What's her name? Laura Featherstone. Mm-hmm. Though she goes by a couple different names because she's a deep cover agent. She works for the Grey. She is.
Well, agent, yeah, deep cover agent isn't like the worst one.
No, her partner is the worst one.
I don't know. She's got the worst backstories.
This is true. But I think it was Hoover who fucked up most of the stuff. Because the running joke is he's just like incompetent and sort of failed his way upwards. But yeah, she's been spying on them because the Grail organization wants Jesse for their nefarious purposes. We'll get into that a little bit later. And they're about to, so they capture her. They're about to feed her to this fucking wood chipper where they make what are they called, consummate?
Consummate,
which is
yeah.
Which is like what? Yeah, blood soup. What they eat? Like he's shoving a turtle, like some roadkill, like some random shit. Yeah. This is like a weird scene where like we get introduced to like, here, drink this, it's good for you, and then we find out what it actually is.
Right, and we understand why Cassidy likes it so much. He's like,
This is blood. Yeah. So they're about to feed Lara Featherstone, played by Julie Ann Ermey. And any relation to Full Metal Jacket guy, R. Lee Ermey?
Don't think so. Anyway, they escape.
Yeah. They escape. I think it was because
one dude escapes and Jesse lets her escape.
Yes, because he wants to set up a meeting between himself and Star so that he can get Genesis back. Yeah.
So what's going on here, man? Why are they back at the guns? Are they still playing?
I think what happens here is in the process of getting the ingredients for Tulip's resurrection, they pissed off their competitor, and so they show up. The competitors show up and they're like, well, we gotta send a message. And so they launch a goat out of a cannon, and I think they shoot this guy. They shoot Cassidy a couple times too.
They shoot Cassidy, which brings up like in this scene was when you gotta get a hint of, because you think with all this crazy mad voodoo bullshit going down, but Jesse's like, you need to keep the fucking vampire thing on the down low, man. Yeah,
and then we get the flashbacks to like Cassidy staring at the photos of like vampires getting drawn and quartered and like left to burn out in sunlight. Right. Which I don't know. It's very inconsistent. The sunlight exposure rules here.
It is, but I mean it's this show, man. I mean it's
it's just the thing worth mentioning. But anyways,
Jesse's back talking to Grandma. What is he trying to do now? Just talk some smack.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of these scenes where it's like, I love you, Jesse, but if you cross me, I'll fuck you up and reach up your asshole and pull your intestines out and drink your soul, and
she'll put him in her soul machine. Which I could we just get the slightest explanation of how that was created? Did TC come up with it or what?
It definitely looks like something TC would have come up with.
Right.
or maybe we get some insight later on about where this sort of ability comes from, and maybe it has something to do with that. Who knows? Because
Possibly. Hey, look who we
it's
meet in real life.
it's well, this is so what happens, I think, here is Tulip is starting to remember what the vision that God gave her when she was coming back from the dead, and she can't figure it out. It's a very incomplete message, and it's bothering her. They've been looking for God all this time, and he shows up and like straight up talks to her, but he also messes with her memory so that she can't remember specifically what's happening.
Well, I love how this whole thing takes place because then you get the thing. The show does a really good job of showing you, it's like, oh yeah, this is the guy who's supposed to be God, and they're still in the backyard. And you're like, is that really God? And the show's like, yeah, by the way, this is really fucking God, motherfucker. Look at him. He like grows 20 stories high, and he's like, but I'm a loving God.
Yes, I am a loving God. I will torture you, but I love you.
Right.
Which is very consistent with Christian mythology. So
True.
well, Judeo-Christian mythology. Period. Hi, Job. Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of surprised that the show doesn't get a lot of hate from like religious groups.
Well, yeah, because they freaked out about Lucifer.
Well, they freaked out about Lucifer. No, that is like another thing, man. Like Tulip just straight up calls God on his shit. He's like, I think you're just fucking off.
Yeah, I think you're an asshole. But at the same time, we sort of later on we sort of get like the sort of peaks of like this long game that God seems to be playing. And I think it's not this scene, but it's the next time he shows up that we sort of get the insight into that.
So moving on, Cassidy's been shot, and that's definitely a thing. But he's got his little blood supply, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna hang out. I'm gonna numb on this.
But TC comes in, and he's got to hide it.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't want everyone to know he's a vampire. Anyway, he does a good job with that. Jesse shows up. He's like, yo, what's going on? And then they have the sweetest moment of the series. He's like, you're my best friend. Ah, friend. Bro hugs.
But you need to leave.
Well, yeah, true that. He's like, but you never said it. And he's like, I'm saying it now.
Yeah, and there's the whole bit where like Cassidy's healing because he's drinking blood, but then Jesse has to stab him a bunch because again they got to hide the fact that he's a vampire.
Right, he can't heal because monsters are bad in this place. That's definitely the thing. Hey, look, Tulip's being Tulip.
Yeah, and here we sort of discover that this is not the first rodeo, that Grandma has been collecting these blood samples for a while, and because they're all just like blood on handkerchiefs, you can't really tell them apart.
Nope.
Well, lay people can. The Grandma can because she's a crazy witch lady, but
that's the thing, man. She's got drawers and drawers of the blood compacts, but that's how that business works. Whoops, hang on.
Whoops.
Derp. There we go. Wrong button. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I got to set this up because earlier, earlier is there's a little play in the kitchen where TC says, hey, do you want to see my dingle? And you're like,
want to see my pecker?
He just says dingle. I'm like, okay, really? He says this to Tulip. And I'm like, all right. That's not possibly what he means by that. Whatever. Anything. Fast forward. Yeah, that's what he meant. He just wanted to show Tulip his dangle or however.
Right. I guess like he's self-conscious, right? And he wants the reassurance that like his penis is not some horribly mangled instrument.
I don't know. I just loved how they set it up because it was just very clear to you that that's not what he meant. He's meaning something other than his dick. And of the character that you've learned of TC so far, then we get to this scene because Tulip's like, I think I want to see your dingle. And then boom, you're like, all right, fine. You win, show. Touche.
Yeah, and it's the character as TC is great because you never quite know if he's really fucking stupid or really smart. He threads the needle, definitely.
Brilliant writing.
Oh yeah, very yeah. TC was one of my favorite characters this season.
So this scene I call the alligator scene.
Yes. Remember how I mentioned a couple minutes ago, mangled instrument? Well, a gator happens. A tiny little one.
Gator happens, but she does this because she wants to know how to get out because she's fully aware that if Grandma gets deaded, she dies.
No, actually,
she doesn't know that yet.
She does not know that yet. She just knows that
How to
Grandma has some leverage over Jesse, and she wants to remove that leverage.
And right. So I think TC says you got to go visit. The only person who knows that is Madam
Booth, I think.
I don't know if it's Booth or Baudet.
Boone or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, TC's got an alligator around his dick. That's what's going on.
That would have some interesting fallouts in a much later episode too, which
true.
Really came out of nowhere, but it's tonally consistent with the show, and so.
Did you see TC at his workbench taking hairs out of the gator's mouth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. True story. Like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just got to checking it out. And it's like, there's the gator in question. So she's there. She went to go pay a visit, and she's trying to lie, of all things.
Well, that's what Tula does. She's a hardened criminal. She's sort of like, I mean, you wouldn't get this reference because you don't watch Venture Brothers, but like, Brock Sampson can basically murder anything. Mm-hmm. Tulip can basically commit any crime.
All right.
Yeah, she's like a criminal savant. She's really terrible at everything except being like a badass criminal. That's like her only skill set.
Well, it's also made very clear that even like during Purgatory, what was the last name of her family in the show?
The O'Hares.
The O'Hares always fuck shit up. It's like a family curse.
There is a curse, and God is aware of this too. Mm-hmm. But we'll talk about that a little bit later.
So the whole thing's going down. She's trying to figure out like who this person is, and I don't think this is in the screenshot. It's set up as like there's this old lady in the corner, and this is the receptionist. She's talking. Turns out the old lady falls over. It's a corpse, and that is the witch doctor. So
yes,
fight ensues.
Yes, fighting ensues. Tulip gets outsmarted. She manages to fight her way out, and she manages to kidnap the I'm gonna call her Madam Booth just because I can't remember her name. She kidnaps Madam Booth and stuffs her in the trunk of a car and drives off.
So
and then we meet Stan.
Hey Stan, pretty cool, man. This is Jason Douglas. You might know him from Dragon Ball Super as Beerus. He's the devil. It's pretty cool. I mean, what do you think of the visual interpretation of this devil, though?
I like the juxtaposition because you expect him to be like, I am the Lord Satan, rivers will run red with blood. But he smacks a lot more of Gordon Gekko. Like a slimy businessman. He's always taking calls. He's very, very friendly. He's talking to the Saint of Killers who managed to find his way back to hell. And apparently escaping hell is a no-no. And in the last season, 2 people escaped. True. Mr. Hilter, and Eugene, otherwise known as Arseface.
That's the thing. So he wants Jesse Custer.
The Saint wants Jesse Custer because Jesse Custer fucked him over.
Mm-hmm.
He gave him a soul because he lost his soul before. There's a whole lot of backstory there. But Saint Killers wants revenge, and Satan wants to make it clear that no one leaves hell without my say-so. And so he tortures him a bunch, and then says, you need to go get these 2 guys, bring them back to hell.
Right. So that went down.
We sort of get... Yes, we get our first exposure to the tombs. We've heard them mentioned in passing a few times.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know what it is, but apparently it has to do with people who have lost their souls to Grandma. And
it's 100% that. It's fucking Fight Club, man. It's Fight Club for the soulless.
Yeah, you essentially, if you win and if you can beat Jody, the super strong guy, you get your soul back. That's your way out.
This is the thing, and this is apparently, I mean, way back in the day, during its heyday, you bought tickets for this, and
yeah, and you bet on it. It was a whole deal. It
was pretty cool. Cool in that weird, creepy way. And there's just like a gang of people down there in chains and bondage. And Jesse, you do get the idea that he's very reluctant to like, all right, this is not my thing, but boom, put on the top hat, and he's like, fuck it.
He gets into character. I think it's like consistent with his preacher ethos because he likes to make these sort of preachy statements, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that sort of fits with the character where he's an influencer. It doesn't really matter what the context of it is. He is good at influencing people. Genesis notwithstanding. So we get backstory. It turns out that Madame Booth was Jesse's
Is it Madame
ex-girlfriend.
Boyle?
Madame Boyle, maybe.
That sounds better than Booth. Booth is not it.
Yeah, you know, I think you're right. Maybe it is Madame Boyle. So Madame Boyle and Jesse have some history. They used to make out. And Jody tells Jesse in sort of that flashback scene, I know who you spend your time with. You need to cut that out before something bad happens. And so we sort of get the background. Madame Boyle is reluctant to help Jesse. She doesn't want to help him at all because he broke her heart and then killed her brother. But he does eventually relent. She tells Tulip, if you want to break the debt, you have to kill Grandma.
Your audio is just cutting in and out.
Is it?
It was.
Was it better now?
It got real quiet.
Better now?
Nope.
I didn't touch anything. According to Audacity, I'm sending you. Yeah, according to Audacity, I'm still speaking at the same level here.
It's come back up now.
Weird.
Yep. Anyway.
Yeah.
So what was the backstory?
Backstory was Jesse is responsible for breaking Madame Boyle's heart. Supposedly killed her brother. And she is not a fan of Jesse. But eventually, after being driven around a bunch, she does relent to Tulip and says, if you want to break the compact, you have to kill Grandma. Because the spell ends when the caster dies.
So before we get immediately to that, we see Jesse and Jody.
Yes.
Get some ice cream.
Yeah, some frozen yogurt. Jesse has a clever idea to get Cassidy out of Grandma's house. He carves him up. Actually, I think this is after he's exposed as a vampire.
He's exposed as a vampire, and he's chained down into the tombs. That's when we're introduced to the tombs. And at this point, and Jesse's like, you're really going to hate me. Chops him up, puts him in a box, and FedEx, right?
Yeah, he goes to like the post office. He's going to send him back to New Orleans, the House of the Rising Sun. And he leaves them in a box while I forget what they're doing. I think they're either going to go talk to Madame Boone or Madame Boyle or what was happening. They went out to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
The scene at hand. He tells Cassidy, chill out in here. Gives him a little straw with some blood. And he's like, you'll stick yourself back together. There's one guy in the store. He turns around and he's like, on the floor.
Yeah.
Is the only reaction to that. Anyway, we get back. Of course, Cassidy's like, fuck this. I'm going back. He's not going to run away.
Yeah, and we get a big old sword fight. Jesse whoops Cassidy's ass, and then has to. I think Cassidy finds another way to escape. It's the human suit. He skins one of the tomb fighters, puts on his skin as a costume, and escapes.
That's the thing, man. And he's like, all right, Tulip's like, we're out of here. Then later, Tulip's just like, here's a bus stop, motherfucker.
Yep.
She's not going to leave Jesse.
She's not going to leave Jesse. And so Cassidy takes the hint, and he goes to he starts hitting up Tinder. But
then Tulip remembers somebody's in her boot.
Yes. Madame Boyle. They finish up the conversation. If you wanna end the effect on the spell on Jesse, you gotta kill Grandma.
Mm-hmm. There's a problem with that, though.
Yes. But I think we as audience members figured it out, but Tulip doesn't understand because she's a character in a piece of fiction.
Mm-hmm. Bathroom fight.
Yes. I don't even remember the context of this.
No, it was just they picked a fight or something. This was like upstairs. This was like the brawl between Jody and Jesse, and of course Tulip and TC got into it. It was just very random. Where it was like, okay, let's just make a flamethrower than other makeshift equipment.
Yeah, there's there's a recurring thing in this season where they're trapped in Grandma Shao Kahn's house, right? Like
Hmm.
they come up they do this maybe two or three times. It reminds me a lot of like the first season of Jessica Jones, where like they capture Killian and then he escapes, but then they capture again, then he escapes, and they have this sort of cat and mouse dynamic where Jesse tries to get out, it fails, they're back to square one. Try again, fails, back to square one. They try to get the Grail organization involved, it fails, back to square one. I think actually we got to rewind a bit because we missed a part, or there wasn't a screenshot for it.
No, entire setups for this every 5 minutes. Anything in between you want to fill in.
Right, yeah, and I forgot about it, but they actually tried to get the Grail organization in ahead of time, and Tulip scares them off because that was God's plan. God doesn't want Jesse to have Genesis.
That was, yeah, God explained. He's like, well, I caused you to cock that up too, because Jesse had a thing set up. Then, yeah,
Yeah,
screws it up.
it's like, yeah, why did you fuck me over? This was by design. I'm playing the long game. I'm God.
So this is really our first introduction to the Allfather, which we've heard of. He's been addressed, but Herr Star, of course, in our Godpad or whatever you want to call that, that gets pulled up, and he's a pretty big dude.
He's Baron von Harkonnen from Dune, right? Like that's his whole thing. He's like a powerful, influential figure. He eats, he purges, then he eats some more, and then if someone pisses him off, he sits on their face and then they die.
It's a way to go, man. Get intimate with his cheeks. Okay, Tulip's chained up at this point.
Yes, this was sort of a fun little scene because like, it's another scene with her and Jody. Jody's like doing a crossword and keeping an eye on her, and she's trying to escape. And Jody catches her. Then we cut away, and the next time we come back, Tulip has like completely escaped because she outsmarted him. I don't think we ever get we never see the how. We just get the
We
why.
never see the how. I mean, she's initially starting with like the curtain rod, and
Yeah.
Then Jody's like, nope, I see what's going on. Then she kind of tricks him and somehow gets the pin, cuffs, and it's like, boom, that's done.
And yeah, cuffs him to the radiator, and yeah.
Interesting flashback.
This wasn't so much of a flashback. So the escape attempt fails. Jody gets free, kicks the shit out of everyone, and Grandma wants to punish Jesse for trying to escape. And so what she does what she did when she was a child. We saw a little bit of this in season 2, where she essentially just locks him in a coffin and sinks it to the bottom of the swamp. And there's like a compressor giving him air, so he can survive. But it's just like claustrophobia. And when he's in this situation, he retreats into his mind where fake John Wayne and him are cowboys and they're killing black hats.
This is a happy spot, man.
It's his happy place, yeah.
That happens, and it's like a little pep talk, and it's like, yep, you're back in the coffin. We're doing this, and this is how I keep myself sane when I'm in the coffin.
Yep. And eventually, fake John Wayne says, "You gotta find your own way out. You gotta blow up the tracks, man."
So, all right, Tulip's working on getting out.
Yep.
Hasn't escaped yet. Still doing it. Jesse definitely. Okay, that's his plan on getting out. Is there's a tube, and you don't really know where it's going because he's got a cigarette. And you're like, boom, you're just going to feed that up there. How's that going to work, man? Methane? What?
Yeah, he MacGyvers himself a solution. Yeah, it's straight up MacGyver. Involving a cigarette. I think what he wants to do is he wants the cigarette to get sucked up and ignite the petrol that's running the compressor. Yeah, I think that's what it was because he's like carving a hole. He's trying to create like a pressure differential so that like
right to explode the coffin.
Yeah, to explode the coffin, and he does that by like taking his preacher collar, wrapping it around a cigarette, lighting it. And then eventually it just gets sucked up and into the compressor, and that causes like the air fuel mixture to catch fire and free him.
And of course, he has the Zippo that some people somehow had a problem with. It's just like fuck communism.
Yeah, I mean it's Jody Zippo. He stole it from him.
That's the thing. So he pulls it out. It goes boom, and we're getting towards the end of that episode. Cassidy is made his way to Nolan's, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it's straight up New Orleans, and he's hitting up Tinder. He's lonely. He hits up a vampire dating app, but it's not actually a vampire dating app, or so we're led to believe. It is a dating app for people who pretend to be vampires and have sex in public places.
Well, this is true. I remember, like, in this particular scene right here, just with the way it's set up, it was like, wait a minute, is that the Grail lady?
Yeah, that is the Grail lady.
Yeah.
Like, because they want to, Grail wants to get their hands on Cassidy so that they have leverage over Jesse.
Indeed. So, he gets
Bathroom
knocked the
sex.
fuck out. Right.
Yeah.
That happens. Comes to, and he's like, oh shit, I'm surrounded by fake
Nerds.
vampires. Right. Nerds. That's the thing. And lead nerd.
King nerd, man.
What did he call himself? Icarius?
Yeah, Acarius or something. It was funny because I was watching that. I'm like, that is how Venn pronounces Icarus.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we're playing Guns of Icarus, you're like Guns of Icarius. I'm like, okay, so New Orleans actual vampire Venn Stone. Yeah. He's leading this coven of vampires.
I will say this, all right? Having Cassidy carry an umbrella around everywhere doesn't help things out.
I know, right?
Right? It's like, thanks.
Yeah, there's some definite similarities going on there. But we find out that he's an actual vampire. He straight up just eats an owl.
Now,
And
that it's not made immediately clear to us, though, because Cassidy's like, all right, this is some D&D bullshit in somebody's basement, clearly. Yeah.
Like the mom comes down and is like, you guys need any punch? Or anything like
right. That absolutely did happen. But yeah, he like noms an owl.
Yeah, he like, straight up eats an owl. Oh, it turns out he's a vampire. And apparently he's one of the good vampires. He's trying to do that to make it so that it's safe for vampires to go out and live. Or does he? Dun dun dun. Who's this? Who's this guy? I don't.
This is when they're pretending.
He's Boyle. He's one of Boyle's henchmen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just couldn't remember who he was for that.
Okay. That's how it was working. So they pretend something happened that didn't happen.
Yeah, they do a bit of a false flag. I don't remember what it was though.
But they pretend somebody was dead, right?
I'm honestly drawing a blank.
Drawing blank? They had to fool them because they were getting ready to what was it? That Tulip was dead, right?
Right. Yeah.
But what was the purpose of that? So they wouldn't be looking for Tulip?
I think it was to get souls.
Right, so they could get a meeting with. Well, I don't know. It's not like
no. Oh, right. No, it was. They're trying to engineer a conflict between Grandma and Madame Boyle so that the Grail people could sneak in and give Jesse something or like, go through it. Yeah.
Anyway, we're back at Bite Club.
I like that Bite Club.
Bite Club, man. It's thing, and it's like, who wants to become a vampire? And all the nerds are like, me. So he legitimately picks one and noms him down. Further on, Jesse sets up a meeting. Oh, okay, so they needed to set that up so Jesse, because remember they went to the bank. Tulip went to the bank, checked it out, and they had the thing. It was like, I can pick through anything, but you see like the biometric thing at the bank to where the her souls
are being stored.
You got to lick it. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was cute. I was like, oh, so Jesse has to get saliva. He's got to get some DNA, and this is his plan to get some DNA.
Either get her to drink something from a glass and use that, or which fails. So plan B is make out, and Tulip is not fond of that plan, but it is what it is.
It happened a bit longer than I think they were initially anticipated. Yeah. So Star shows back up, and Allfather's like chilling out in his office. He was like, "What's up? What's going on?"
Right. So I guess we gotta explain a little bit about Star. So Star is the head of the Grail organization. The Grail organization is the steward of the only
I'm
genetic.
Gonna have to throw this in. If you're watching something covering Series 3 of Preacher, you probably know.
Yeah, yeah, sure, but for the sake of explanation,
okay,
because why not?
Because why not? System.
Yeah. Grail organization has the last remaining descendant of Jesus Christ, who they have inbred to the point of complete and utter uselessness. The current incarnation is named
Pumpidou.
He tap
dance very well. Fuck off.
Oh no, true. He does do that old soft shoe, a doodly doodly do. Yeah, and there's some conflict because Star recognizes that this is not someone who we're gonna easily get people to follow. It's stupid. He actually wants all the power, and and Allfather is directly in his way. So there's this ongoing subterfuge effort where Star is trying to undermine Allfather's plans.
He basically wants Jesse to be the Messiah,
right? And not Humperdoo.
Right, Pompadump.
Humpadump.
Humpadump.
Yeah, Humperdoo. Yeah, we get some. I actually love how cheesy the scenes are between Cassidy and Icarius. Like, there's some straight up like Richard Donner Superman shit happening between these two.
Well,
and they fall in love.
At this point, man, they are definitely, Icarius is like, yo, join us, hang out with us. Cassidy's like, yo, man, I turned somebody was my son, turned out to be a jackhole, didn't work out, kind of a loner, I don't do this, peace out, right?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want any part of this nonsense. No bite club for Cassidy. So,
and
crack house.
Yep, he goes and shoots up, and he calls Tulip. And
actually, I think Tulip calls him, and he's like, whoa, because he has a moment there. He's like, wait a minute, you're calling to check up on me? Because he's like, man, I always lose friends like this. He's like, I don't expect to ever see anyone again, which I don't think he does.
Yeah, it's true. And so he has a change of heart. He has the desire for community now, and so he goes back to Bike Club after this.
So we're ending the conversation. Apparently, when you talk to the Allfather and he has dinner, you have a fucking horse.
Yes, it's the Steam. Wait, no, that's the wrong show. Allfather is a bit of a gourmand. Yeah, like I said, the Baron von Harkonnen sort of Mr. Creosote comparison, I think, is very, very valid here.
It is definitely a thing. If you look at Herr Starr's head, they never really explain the cut. But
no, they do. Tulip shoots him in the head.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. When God's like, oh, I made you fuck this up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Because she was shooting.
What I love about it is there's that scene with the Allfather where he walks in. And he's like, take off the hat or remove the hat or whatever's going on. Yeah. He takes it off, and it's just a throwaway line. It's just straight up. It's like, you look like your head looks like a penis.
To that point, I really like Herr Starr's like attempt to find a hat that suits him.
Wigs,
like,
hats.
No, because it's hats. It's hats at first, and he has like the beanie. He has like a yarmulke or something. He has like a top hat. He's trying to figure out something that will
cover up the penis, right?
Cover up his penis head. And I thought that was really funny because like some of those hats just looked terrible on him, and it was great.
Hey, guess who we finally get to meet?
Yeah, after I think like 7 episodes or something, we finally get to meet Mr. Hilter, who's working at a Subway.
Employee of the month, man.
Employee of the month. He gave himself a little soul patch, so now no one can figure out that he's actually Hitler. Yeah, zoom in. Maxi Grinder, I think is the place. There's a great thing where like he's on break with like his 2 employees or like with his 2 subordinates.
that fucking scene. Yeah, I remember talking like Pedro watched it that day. He's like, yeah, the thing, but he's like, yeah, they fucking went there, didn't they?
Yeah, it's like,
whoa.
Yeah, they did. I love the follow up. It's like, my partner's Jewish. Oh, I'm sure he's a lovely man. She's a woman. Yeah, and Hitler's just like,
right.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing that happens.
So they're making out now.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if like I think your sexuality would go completely out the door if you're alive for like several hundred years. Like you do shit just to try it.
But possibly. I mean, Cassidy's like, yeah, what ups? He's down with it, but he's not down with like the whole coffin shit. He's like, really? Coffins?
Yeah, it's cute. They have the 2 matching coffins.
Right.
That they spoon in.
And I feel Cassidy on this. Like, no one sleeps in coffins, man.
Yeah. He's like, no, and Icarius is like, no, you have to do the vampire thing correctly.
Right. He's all about that. And I mean, he is, to his credit, he's like taking him out because we've kind of glossed over all the stuff. He's like learning to fly and how to
mesmerize people and
right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting. And
Cassidy's trying to learn and he can't.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, you get these powers by turning mortals, and I've been doing this for hundreds of years.
And it turns out we're going to get to it later, yeah, but it's not really the turning the mortals thing that gets you the super vampire powers.
No, it's not.
Okay, so
the vampire hunters. I like these guys.
This
like
is what's his name?
Malcolm. Malcolm's the actor's name. Hoover is the character.
Hoover's doing this, man, because they're going after. They're still trying to get Cassidy, and he's like, "Yo, I got to go to the church. Check this out. Let's go downstairs in the big, fucked up movie elevator. Kung fu fucking priests and nuns down in that shit, man."
Oh, absolutely! Like that was great. Like for the 30 seconds they were on screen, I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be amazing." But that doesn't work out so well.
No, not so much.
Yeah, but Hoover is trying to get into Star's good books because he's a consummate fuck up. He keeps screwing shit up, and he's just tasked with a single command: find and bring me Cassidy.
Mm-hmm.
And he just can't do it.
No,
and no, he can't. And I think at this point,
Star's back. They made their deal. They're like, okay, this is what's going to go on, Grandma. We're going to go get this fucking soul. But Jesse is what does
no souls. They were gonna give Grandma
going to Japan, right?
Yeah, they're going to Osaka to get a massive supply of souls for Grandma, so that they can pay off Jesse's debt.
Right.
Star wants Jesse. Star has the resources to get Jesse. So
they Tulip and
what's her name? Laura. They head off to Japan. Jesse and Star go to meet the Allfather.
Yes. So we're still having that talk, and it's like, I don't trust this is going to go wrong, which you just fucking know it is. That's what that scene's all about. And this is like one of my favorite cringy things. They're getting ready to part ways to Japan and to go to meet the Allfather. She's like, I'll call you when I get to the car. She's like, why? What's it do with that?
Right. Because Jesse and Tulip are like, I love you. I love you. And she and Laura's just like, man, I want some tenderness.
Right.
I love this hat on Star too because it straight up looks like a condom. It looks like a rolled up condom.
Pretty sure that's why it made it to the screen, man.
I know it's just perfect.
So they failed trying to kill
Cassidy
or Icarus.
Yeah, well, both of them.
Right, shapeshifter gets shut down apparently.
Oh yeah, turn into a cat. Fuck off. So our kung fu priests and nuns they get murderized by Cassidy. He goes ham on them, eats them, and yeah, I think this is just like a scene to sort of further cement the relationship between Cassidy and Icarus.
Right, it's like, hey, we're in this together. People are out trying to fuck us, so we need to stick together.
Vampires before shampires. I don't know.
Chomps before Roms, baby.
Yeah. Eats before priests. I don't know.
We're on the way to see the Wizard.
The Allfather.
The wonderful Wizard of Oz.
He gets black-bagged, and...
Oh, yeah. I was like, really? Again? He's like, yes, again. Yeah. That's that's kind of an interesting scene. If we go back to that, because I don't know if we get a screenshot of it, is the elevator scene when they go to meet the Allfather. Like, halfway down, he's like, I'm going to need you to do something.
I think that's at the very end of this episode. Yeah.
Grandma's going to make a call.
Grandma's going to make a call. Grandma also has some... Is this where we learned about TC and Grandma's game?
Oh, no. Well, that might have been somewhere in this episode. It's like, wow, that makes me very uncomfortable. I don't know why that does, but
but yeah, like it comes out of nowhere, but it's so tonally consistent with the rest of the show.
Right. It's like,
that I had no problem with that. Like, no, this is well within the parameters of what Preacher has given us before.
It is. That is like, oh, that thing. She's looking at the goal. She's thinking about ringing up somebody, and apparently, that phone. It's got long distance, but just not to our realm.
Yes, you pick it up. What do you want? And she sets up a meeting with Stan.
Yeah, Stan's here. Like, knock, knock. TC's just like, he's here, which tells us not the first time he's been there.
Yes, apparently there's a relationship. Apparently Stan had given Grandma the ability to eat souls to make her live forever. and they are renegotiating the deal. I think she's going to give Jesse to Stan.
Well, it's not made clear at this point.
Yeah.
She's like, I need to renegotiate the contract. And he's like, well, what do you got for me? And, well, the devil wants Jesse.
Yeah, the devil wants his due. Well, specifically, he wants Genesis.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So, Jesse's tied up.
Yes, and so here's my favorite bullshit science part of this entire thing. So the reason that no one else can contain Genesis except for Jesse is because he contains the exact match of good and evil that Genesis does, because he's half angel, half demon.
Right.
Like I was saying a little bit before. So what they're doing is they're straight up doing the Aberdolf Linkler, where they're trying to combine the DNA from people, like historical
sports
people.
figures and
yeah. I love the one that like eventually works is we have what was it, Thomas Jefferson and Wayne Brady, and we call it the Tom Brady.
The Tom Brady.
I straight up clapped when I heard that. I'm like, oh god, that's great.
But if you've been watching, I would assume the initial to try to get Genesis out, the angels would try to sing it out basically and rub its belly.
Rub its belly. The Grail organization has developed a piece of technology to do that, and apparently
they can do it with a button. Like,
yeah, there's like what was it? Religion's greatest weapon is science. That's the line they give. And so we find out that the Grail organization has produced many Humpadoos.
They are. So we're gonna cut back to hell, and this is our first real introduction outside of just like the whipping scene to
Azrael, the angel of death.
Right, henchman of hell, and it's like, yo, go fuck shit up. And it's brilliant. I like her character.
Yeah, like the demons and sort of like extraplanar beings in Preacher are very interestingly characterized, because it really does seem that they're just trying to do their job.
Right. I mean, it's
like
a job. It's just something you got to do, right? Pay the bills.
Yeah, they have no aspirate. Well, the angels sort of have like the aspirations of righteousness, but these guys are just like, you know what? We're just here to do our shit, and
right.
We got to answer to Stan. If we fuck up, then Stan's gonna take it out on us. Oh yes. So Hoover, in his attempt to capture Cassidy, gets captured by the nerds, and
he was ready, man. He was in his car. He had his UV lights and everything, and he's like, okay. Well, he was playing as a Rastafarian Uber driver.
Yes. Yeah, and he gets captured, and he's given a choice: we can kill you, or we can turn you. And Hoover chooses the latter. And he becomes a vampire. It all seems good. It seems like Hoover finally got a break.
Right. Well, I mean, you should be grateful. I mean, that was like the two things. So they're back. They've stole the souls, and turns out the henchman from hell shows up on the aeroplane, and she's like, yo, I'm looking for a girl, basically Tulip.
Yeah. She straight up says, Tulip her hair, dressed as a Grail agent, brown hair.
Right, and Tulip's like, I think you mean this person, which was the other Grail agent.
Yeah, Laura.
So, yeah, Tulip bails on the plane, grabs the briefcase with all the souls in it, ends up with a fucking Windows machine, which...
You know what, to be fair, if I opened up a briefcase and found a Windows laptop, I would volunteer to go to hell.
So they're fucked there. They need the souls to get Grandma to release Jesse and all that.
And so they try to arrange a meet.
All the while, Pumperdink is getting pumped full of explosive.
Yep, and we see several iterations of it.
Montages of just...
Yep.
And...
As they try the different DNA cocktails to narrow in on the perfect genetic balance between good and evil.
It's pretty interesting.
It's a scene, all right.
So
Tulip realizes she fucked up. She has the briefcase with the laptop and not the one with the souls. So she tries to track down Azrael and the Saint of Killers before they go back to hell. Saint of Killers at this point has captured Hilter because, of course, he did. It's Hilter.
Hilter and Arseface.
And Eugenius. I want to talk maybe a little bit later, but I want to talk about the relationship between the Saint of Killers and Eugene, because I think that's kind of interesting.
Well, there's a little buddy. Also, I want to have words with that orphanage.
Yes.
They're like, sure, here you go.
Yeah.
So this is rolling down. They're getting ready to go to hell, and it's Arseface that narcs out Tulip.
Yes, because he's like, he's ignorant. He's an optimist, and he immediately thinks the best of everything, which is wrong because in this universe where God and the devil are real, everyone's an asshole.
Right.
We straight up get like Smitey Dick God, and he is a big old dick.
So they get swapped out. Tulip is headed to hell on the short bus with Arseface, the Saint, and Gabriel.
And Hilter. Yes.
We're having a lover spat.
Yes, I think this is where Cassidy finds out the secret.
Right.
The secret behind Soylent Vampire is that you don't get powers from eating people, you get powers from eating vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And this entire setup, the whole bike club, is basically to get desperate nerds, turn them into vampires, and then eat them so that he can become more powerful.
I'm going to ask you something. Like, if we're rewinding when we're first, like, the first girl that Cassidy really meets, and she's explaining, she's like, no, this is how this goes down. Because they're showing, like, this montage in the background of the people who have been sent out opening shops and doing all that. And you're like, holy fuck, all right, they're really doing this. Then the show just bullshits you right there. Because they're like, nope, they're all in.
Unreliable narrator. Honestly, as a narrative device, I love unreliable narrators. It's great to be told one thing and then like, no, they were just wrong.
Indeed. So he's a little upset with that, but he's like, hey man, deal with it. We all have our flaws, and me eating vampires. That's a flaw. Then we get this scene from Herr Starr.
Oh yes, the master plan. What the Grail organization's true desire is. They want to usher in nuclear holocaust so that they can release the Messiah onto the world and have everyone follow him. Purge the world of undesirables. We get this lovely little 50s style. Welcome to the Grail organization. Blah blah blah.
But it does a really good job of explaining to the viewer that the Grail is fucking ingrained in everything.
Yes, we sort of got the implication of that, especially in season 1. But this is basically like, no, this is the Grail's everywhere. Like we see earlier in the season, like them trying to Star. If he can't have Jesse, he has to make do with Humperdew, and he's like trying to get her to like play nice with the fake queen. And like he was because he was peeing on a bunch of shit before.
Right.
I think that's like straight up how we got introduced to Humperdew. Is like he opens up the door, we get like the fake Jesus. No, turns out he's inbred, and he starts peeing on Jesse.
So on the way back to Grandma, they hit a thing. It gets splattered to death, and that's when Grail Agent Lady's like, you know what? Fuck this. We got the souls. That was my deal. I'm out.
Yes, and
it takes us back to the bus.
It takes us back to the bus. Tulip has a plan, and it's you know what? It's a pretty good plan, all things considered.
Plausible.
Yeah, given the resources they have at hand, and given the fact that they have to contend with 2 demons, it's probably the best plan they could have come up with.
Right. Maybe a chance for one of them not to be the slowest.
Yeah. But it fails because, unfortunately, though, Harris fuck everything up.
It eats shit. I mean, it doesn't do anything. And I thought it was kind of interesting because they sit there and they drew it out. It was like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Look, we're even going to give you animations is what we're seeing on screen. Then it just drops.
Yep. That was pretty good. I like that.
Uh-oh.
Yep. It looks like Icarius, if he can't have Cassidy, he's just going to let him fry. And so Cassidy, we mentioned the mom. Or like the grandma or before.
The surrogate grandmother.
Yeah. She comes down. Apparently she's in on the whole thing. She's like, well, up to the whole turning people into vampires and then eating them. She's missing out on the eating people thing.
Right.
But she's cleaning. She's like, oh, you're a son of a bitch. I hope you burn. And Cassidy's all,
can I get some caffeine?
Can I get some caffeine? And you should call some of these people who went away. Let's. Yeah. Have you heard anything? No. Right. Yeah. Maybe there's something nefarious going on. And so, that's where that scene ends. We get back to Grandma's place.
Jesse's heading down the road because in the interim, basically, oh my God, Jesus, Deus Ex type shit. He escapes. He escapes, and what he does is we got some splaining to do to get to this. So he's locked in. Star gives him a gun. This works out. He's like, "Hey man, can I die?" Because they figured out how to get Genesis into Dinkelpump.
Yep.
And it's working out. They're like, "Fuck, all right, we're gonna do it with a real one because I got a billion clones. They're bringing in the fucking real one." I'm like, "All right, This is gonna be a thing." And he's like, "Hey man, can you take me out of the fucking chair? Let me get on my knees and die like a real Christian, right?"
And he fights his way out.
He does, and he explodes Allfather.
Allfather. Yep.
Which is great. Then you see the sphincter like hanging from the ceiling, and
it's straight up Mr. Creosote from NF and from The Meaning of Life.
And one thing, we have that scene where Jesse is like going to fucking murk the
Humperdew clone.
No, the real one.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, I can't do that."
Puts him in a tracksuit, sets them all free.
Be free, my Jizai! Be free!
Then we get a great scene with them walking with the escalators and all that, then spreading out.
And then getting like hit by cars. Shit.
Yeah. So that takes us to this point. Jesse's got he's got his groove back, man. He's got all the business. He's like, fuck it. I'm going back, man.
No more hats, Mr. Star. No more hats.
And I thought this was an interesting scene where he passes young Jesse. He's like, you should have killed her.
Yeah. This was a nice little scene. It's like, you should have killed her. I know, I'm gonna go make it right.
Mm-hmm. So, Nazis.
Yes, apparently the Illinois Nazis, or I guess the New Orleans Nazis.
I guess
they got themselves what, like a Panzer, or like
this is kind of weird, man. Because on the entire bus ride, the Hitler's like, no, man, what's his name's going to show up? The manager of the subway joint. Yeah, and you're like, what? Then you kind of get a shot of the manager, and you see like the fucking SS. Yeah, right. Yeah. And Zoe, he's like, no. He said he was going to save us. Fucking tank shows up and shoots the bus over. You're like, what? Okay.
So for a hot second there, when I was watching this originally, for a hot second there, because like the bus was sort of traveling through like this cloud space, right? Like we're not sure where it's actually going because it's a bus that can go from hell to earth or wherever. So I thought maybe, what are they going to do something fucky? Like, they accidentally got out in time or something? No, it just turns out it's Illinois Nazis.
Right. It's cosplay Nazis, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
And, of course, it's the Saint of Killers and the Angel of Death, so they just destroy all of them.
Well, it's that thing, man. I thought the Angel of Death was just like, I am Commander. He's like, how come you have on a lieutenant's pin? He's like, oh, well,
Oh, yeah. She straight up calls him out. That's great.
Like, false valor. Boom. God steps in.
Yeah, he's a loving God.
He is, man. Tank shell, midair. I mean, Angel of Death has got Tulip getting ready to choke him out. The Saint is trapped under the tank, but he works his way out of that.
He does. I think Azrael, the Angel of Death, pushes the Saint of Killers buttons one too many times, and he rips out her eyes.
He does that. God, when he puts the pause button down right here, he does walk in and he's like, yo, all right, we're going to lift this curse bullshit that's been going on with you. Mm-hmm. That's definitely a thing. Get your shit together. There's a system going on. This test is pass, fail. It's in play. So,
you're failing.
Let's see how this fucking works out. And, he's like, by the way, I'm a loving God. Moo.
Moo. Well, he's a Dalmatian.
Which is kind of fun because his like third in the series of biker chicks is like, I'm still here, right?
Yeah, that was great. He's just cruising around with these random women.
Right.
It's good.
I thought that was pretty fun. So everything's good. Cassidy's like, you know what? I'm sorry. Let's be friends again. Let's go be vampires together. And
and Icarius believes it.
Yep.
Turns out Grandma made a phone call, and turns out Cassidy was right, and so they strap him to a pool table, and they torch his ass.
Well, no, they ate his ass.
No, yeah, that's true. They do eat his ass,
and then they bite him.
And then I think does Hoover show up like immediately after that?
Roughly in the same area. Well, this is Jesse's back at.
This is the final confrontation. Mm-hmm. He's
got Genesis.
He can make her say whatever, break the curse, blah blah blah. You're you were our blood pack compact is null and void, and then Tulip shows up.
Tulip shows up.
Yeah, there's like there's a heated exchange, and
Tulip shows up at the end.
and yeah, she shoots grandma.
No.
Or no?
Nope. You watched a different show.
I'm misremembering that then. Yeah.
Tulip calls Cassidy. She's like, "Yo, what's going on, Cassidy? Are you safe? Because God's like, Cassidy's not safe. Cassidy's gonna get all fucked up. You need to take care of Cassidy." That's why she calls Cassidy.
Right.
Cassidy's like, "Yeah, everything's fine right now. Not having any problems." Then dude shows up, hands him an umbrella. And he's like, why are you handing me an umbrella? He's like,
they ripped the roof off the house.
right. And everybody just gets scorched except for grandma and one of the Bite Club members.
Yeah, I think it's like her straight up son or whatever. They made it to the coffins.
Right,
they're
because
safe.
Tulip tears off to go see what's going on. And yeah, the entire top of the house is missing. And they kind of like crack the coffins open. And they're like, hey, they took Cassidy and all that business. So
Meanwhile, back in hell.
Arseface and Hilter, they're chilling out, doing the thing, and the patron saint, man, he's still pissed off.
Yes, the Saint of Killers is like, who gave the order to kill my family, and Stan's all like, I was there at the meeting. I agreed to it, but it wasn't my idea.
This is where I'm getting a little confused though, because I'm like, the Devils are coming across way too nervous. As I'm like, why are you worried about this guy?
Why are you worried about this? Because it turns out that the Saint Killer's guns can straight up kill anyone, including Stan.
Sounds like he's got bats in the brains.
It does. Saint Killers finds out that Eugene Arseface, he's not even supposed to be there. He's taken people from who are not dead and bringing them to hell, and that does not sit well with the Saint Killers.
There's no rules though. God's gone.
Yeah, God is gone, or so we're led to believe, or so Stan's led to believe, anyways. Saint Killers wants his revenge. He was blaming God, but now he learns that Satan's responsible, so now he blames Stan.
Blew his fucking head off.
Yep, Saint Killers can kill anyone. And I guess, and he takes Eugene, he takes Arseface, and they fuck off. And it turns out that apparently, maybe it comes later. I think it's in the same scene, but it turns out if you just show up for the interview, you get the job.
Well, that was like, where's this going to play up? Because Satan's dead. Then Hilter just kind of like looks at the documents. He sees the contract with Jesse. He's like, Then the Angel of Death was like, would you like tea?
Yeah.
Right. I was like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, if you just show up, you get the job.
Right. That's definitely a thing. And then we come back to Cassidy. Cassidy, the Grails got him in a hole, man, down in a hole.
Down in a hole. They got another prisoner too, who we see. We see a glimpse of a winged fellow.
Didn't catch that.
Yeah. There was a guy chained up, and he had wings. Like, so maybe it's an angel. Who do they have?
Oh.
Is this person important? Are they going to play a much larger role? Turns out I don't know where this is. I think it's implied it's like Megiddo or something, like in Israel.
Could be.
Yeah.
But, Star has the whole thing. What's his name? The Vampire Grail agent. They have a good scene, like, right before this. He's like, yeah, by the way, he's like, what's with the umbrella head? He's like, a vampire. He's like, I thought you were just playing around. Then he just knocks it off and torches.
Yep. I was like, oh, I'm going to miss you. Bye, Malcolm. You were a fun little idiot to have around.
Then he explains that the Grail agent lady, she's like, so we must find them. He's like, I'm not interested in Messiah. We're done playing chess. Now we're playing checkers. Then it kind of cuts out to this shot. And it's like, all right, Grail's about to go fuck things up, man.
Indeed.
But
I think that's the last we see of those guys.
That's going to take us to the end. But we didn't get that scene in. What happens is Jesse with his grandmother, he's like, all right, you know what? Grandmother's like, listen, you've won. There's nothing I can do. And he's like, you know what? Destroy the souls. So she sits there and like, she's like crying and throwing the souls into the fire. And Jesse's like, yep, all right. I won. I did my thing. So he leaves. He's pulling out of the manor house in his truck. He's like, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I won, but I don't feel like I won.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go back. And yeah, and I think that's when Tulip shows up.
That's when he goes back and he plugs her into the soul machine.
Yep, and yes,
Yes,
that is what happens.
That is what happens.
Yeah, and he starts to suck out her soul.
He just sets it on go time and pieces out. He's like, fuck it. Tulip's out front waiting.
But then she drops.
Drops.
Yeah, because
What?
yeah, no, there was the thing at the end where Jesse kills Grandma, or Tulip kills Grandma.
Tulip does not kill Grandma, dude. I know this is... Jesse kills Grandma, 100%.
Jesse kills... Okay, so Jesse kills Grandma, Tulip drops. Because Grandma, by eating her toenails, tied Tulip's life to her life.
That was way earlier. Didn't they break that?
No. I think that's why they had to get her souls. Yeah, that might have been it.
No, I actually got to go like pull this fucking video up. You confused me.
Yeah. No, because I know Tulip is in the scene where Grandma dies and then she dies.
Well, yeah, that's not at the end though.
That's not at the end. Okay.
No.
Okay. Then we missed that part.
Oh yeah, we skipped over a lot of shit.
Yeah, we did.
Hang on. Let's see. Yeah. No, Tulip's just outside waiting in the car and they peel off.
Right. Okay.
Then it cuts to Cassidy down a hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
All right. That was Preacher season 3.
That was it. It was good. I'm looking forward to whenever series 4 comes out.
I think it's next year. They've been doing one a year, so.
Yeah, it's better than American Gods, which is now again once more in development hell after the showrunner leaving, and then like the actors going, we don't want to work with this other dude, and that's other dude's like, I think I'm piecing out too.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Died of Fire, everyone. Thanks for showing up. Tomorrow, tune in as we're going to talk about Linux games and stuff. It's pretty cool.
And maybe one Windows game.
Yeah. Vulkan Windows game, but it doesn't count or something. I don't know. It depends on what kind of lies you like telling yourself.
Maybe if you believe in the God from Preacher, it works out like that.
I don't know, man. The God from Preacher is
He's the thing. He's one doggone deity. Hey.
All right, beautiful people. We're gonna bounce. See you tomorrow. Linksgamingpass.com/schedule. It's the thing.
Mm-hmm.